Who am I? Well, let's just say I'm your typical American kid. If typical means growing up insecure, stuttering through sentences, dodging a critical mom, and watching dad hide in the shadows. High school kicked me out 2 weeks early for leaving campus with my girlfriend. One of these girls is her. And the closest I got to college was throwing a touchdown pass to my buddy in the 5th grade. I was lucky to spend a lot of time with my grandparents. They were great. Learned to use my words to navigate life, just like Grandpa said. Make friends, make money. I experimented, took things apart. Guess I learned the old-fashioned way by just making mistakes. Hey! I've sold wine to grocery stores, driven heavy equipment, caddied on the PGA Tour, was in a band, even went to LA in my early 20s to give acting a shot. Pretty sure I can fly anything with wings. Worked in sales most of my life, got recruited to Wall Street, and one day I even rang the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. It's been a crazy ride. Married for 18 years, married for 18 months, divorced twice, and both of the women are in this picture. And I'll guarantee you, divorce during the Trump years was not fun. Lawfare sucks. But thank goodness I had a woman come to my rescue. And she's in this picture. Maybe it's just me, but I truly believe that humans can accomplish anything if they just try without the fear of failing. Most people stop before they even start. If you believe in leading by example, doing what's right by standing up for those who need the help, but most importantly, if you feel like you have the skills to spot a fraud, then this might be for you. This is a place where action speaks louder than words, where leadership isn't about titles or education. It's about showing up, execution, and understanding that no matter how experienced you are, you always have something to learn. Life's challenges only postpone. Who am I? Well, welcome to the Acronym Alliance Daily Show, your daily dose of things you need to know, and probably some things you don't. Always a few things you don't. Hey everybody, if anybody does join me tonight and figures out that I talked about jumping on today and broadcasting all day, starting at 2 o'clock, and it didn't work out. One, because the dog wouldn't let me. And 2, my son came over unannounced today, which was a nice surprise. So we sat around and caught up for a while. He's on his way to college. 2 years ago, he was basically, COVID just flushed him out of high school. He was living at a girlfriend's house. It was pure chaos. It was like, I don't blame any kids. So many kids had problems with finishing high school and just doing the work, doing the remote work, the behind the computer work. And I don't know how I feel about a lot of that now. My mind has gone to a lot of different places these last 4 years for sure, but definitely the last 10 years. You know, what we all went through with COVID, especially what the kids went through. I've always, like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but when I chose to have children, when I made that, and I didn't really want kids. My wife was adamant about having kids. She wasn't kind of early on. You know, I fully believe in the mantra of when a man and a woman get married, the man hopes the woman will never change, and the woman is trying to change the man the second you get married. So I didn't really want kids, but now that I have kids, like, I wouldn't know what I would do without my kids. I mean, all of this is essentially for my kids, for their friends, for whoever wants to take part in it. And I just determined that there's really only going to be one way. You know, there's one way to get us all back on the same page, and that's just through communication. It's anytime the dialogue breaks down, that's when bad things happen. When diplomacy breaks down, we've lost the art of diplomacy, I think, in these last 10 years or so. With everything coming to light right now, it's really disheartening. I mean, I guess it's a little bit, I mean, it's a little bit satisfying, obviously, for obvious reasons, when you pay attention to things as close as I have for as long as I have. And I think there's other people who've been in finance who see this the way I do. I don't know. There's a lot of quiet voices out there right now. There's not a lot of chatter in the world of money management as far as just hearing what people's true thoughts are. And I think that's typical. It's got to be typical for where we're at. We're at a time period where there was just a massive fraud and scam. And I mean, now you can just like, everything makes total sense now. All the scamming, all the, the people from other countries just giving backdoors into our country. All of the scammers that are fought on YouTube. I love all those guys who try to reverse scam the scammers and shut these big outfits down. I mean, those are people doing good work. But I think like it's bigger than that. I think it's broader. I think more people, it just feels to me like the federal government, and I know that we have to take in a lot of media, which, by the way, I just saw Joy Reid got fired today. Not shocked at all. She's the most racist person I've ever seen in my life. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that. I think we're right on the leading edge of what feels to me like a massive galactic change in society. I hope. I don't know. I think there's a long ways to go. I'm concerned. I'm seriously concerned about the economy. I love what Elon and the president are doing. I love the quick, decisive, this is when I wanted to vote for Ross Perot in 92, when I got fired up in the first election that I got to vote in. I wanted Ross Perot to run the country like a business. I wanted him to just come in and figure it out, cut it, thin it. When people are not given an opportunity, when you do not have any reason, motivation, inspiration, whatever, to better yourself, to compete with the people around you, sales competition, administrative competition, whatever. Just create an environment of promoting success and growth. I don't think we know how to do that anymore. I think the leaders have all gotten, I think they got rid of them. In fact, I kind of know they did. I got laid off from, my great job that I had for 12 or 13 years. Started out as Citigroup Asset Management, Solomon Smith Barney's proprietary fund company, which means that's the fund company that is all under the same roof. The asset managers and the brokers or the financial advisors are all under the same company. And then we got spun off in, I think, 2007, early 8, somewhere around there. Kind of right when Obama came into office. Didn't really think about it back then. We got spun off to Legg Mason Asset Management. Legg Mason Asset Management then made their changes, reorganized some of the teams, got rid of some people, survived a round of layoffs. And then 6 months after, we just got a new sales manager, new regional sales managers, good people. Finally, it was yes, we got a couple of leaders. We got some guys who know how to do this. We got, some good women on the team. It was like all the cards were falling into place in 2011. And just as we were kind of getting going and getting off on hitting the road, another reorganization. Laid off, reorganization like 15. And it wasn't, it wasn't the people who weren't performing. It was the top performers at the firm and management and some management and the new management that just came in. And I just looked up on AI yesterday, asked about, Legg Mason and just, to see what it knows. And it essentially found that, I was a DEI. I was the leading edge of the DEI movement. Get rid of the white people, get rid of the guys who are the leaders who can maybe, who can push people, who can inspire people to be better. And it was those people they got rid of. That is when we started as a country, I think, like aiming for a lower bar. Just maybe we peaked a little bit and then we just started gliding on this trajectory of what? Mediocrity? What they're finding in this fraud, what is happening is it's not super surprising, but it's still a little bit surprising that there's this level. The $20 billion in, was it gold? Or it's out of my mind now. It just blew me away. Who was the director? Somebody found $20 billion in a bank account off grid. Like, hey, let's stash this here. When did our federal government just make the transition to you can commit whatever crime you want? You can not listen to law. You can just follow whatever you need to follow. Go ahead and take what you will. Because it really does seem like that. But only for some. It wasn't for white guys, wasn't for anybody who didn't vote for a Democrat or did anybody happen to notice? Think about this for just a second. Did anybody happen to notice? I guess you have to have friends. If you have friends who are bureaucrats, or maybe some politicians, or maybe you have some connections to local governments. Look what's happening in those two towns where those two mayors are just like throwing away all the city's money. I forget her name now, and I forget his name. One of the mayors just got fired. He was flying to Colombia like 3 times a year and just like ringing up the city's credit cards, just partying, smoking crack, doing whatever he wants. And then every single time somebody called him out on it, he just cried racism. And this is like what we're living in now. And look, I think what Trump is doing and what Elon is doing, it's a must. I am concerned. I am very concerned that it will go so far that we will potentially start a significant unwinding, an unmitigated just unwinding, and a momentum of cash that is now going to slow significantly. And if it does slow significantly, and if enough people do lose their jobs, are the unemployment numbers actually the numbers? Are they real? If they've been okay, to lie to us for X amount of years about this, why wouldn't they lie about this? I think I told a lot of you, I sold my house, a lot of you, all 20 of you, since I've just started doing this, but I'm just going to do this like somebody will eventually come back and watch these. Who knows? But I sold my house in 2019 and I felt good about it. I really did. I felt like, okay, the real estate market is overcooked. This is too hot. This can't keep up. There's no freaking way it's going to keep up. Well, shoot, if I would have known how much backdoor cash was being injected into the economy, off the books illegally, I would have been able to take advantage of maybe holding on to my house a little bit longer. But I wasn't allowed to get that information. See, in the investment world where I came from, that was called insider information. You weren't supposed to have insider information. So the consequences of what we are stepping into and where we're going right now are so much greater than just a few people losing their job and like, oh my God, I'm working from home and I lost my job today because I didn't check my email for weeks. Like who has a job where you don't have to check your email or nobody's checking on you? Now look, I don't believe in micromanaging. I had a boss the last time I worked for a bank. It was for Deutsche Wealth and Asset Management, part of Deutsche Bank. And I was hired by a guy who we clicked. Great dude. We were going to kill it together, but he ended up having to leave. And I mean, it was good for him. It ended up being a great move for him, but there was an issue with me and my hire, which I will tell at a later story. But yeah, he moved on, and it's just, I totally forgot where I was going with that story. But anyway, I stopped working at the banks, sold my house, didn't know that it was going to be probably another 4 or 5 years of growth. I mean, we're still in it. We're starting to see the slowdowns now. Oh yeah, that's what I was talking about. Interest rates and just all the things that are taking place and what could take place, people working from home. We have to have some sort of efficiency and accountability. If we don't have any we see what happened by not having any accountability. We saw, I think where we messed this up is, it's funny how Bush and Obama and it all makes sense now, doesn't it? That's what's so funny about all this. It just all makes sense. Working at the banks during being kind of thrust into having to really pay close attention to the markets and the economy and global finance, with my background not being in any of that, it was drinking from a fire hose. But I think it gave me a different perspective on things. It gave me, because since I didn't come up through college and kind of the normal routes that a lot of people came who have these jobs, I came in with a totally different perspective and view of the world. I'd worked all sorts of blue collar jobs and other outside sales jobs. And so it just gave me a different perspective on a lot of the people, thinking about what a lot of the, how you kind of put something in your mind if you've never seen it or you've never been there or you're going there or you have an image of the way something is in your mind, but you don't actually know what it is. Well, I was very, very surprised at first that the biggest heads of the company were such, I don't know, how do I put this? They weren't the sharpest guys always. I'll just be honest. When we went to Legg Mason, Chip Mason, who, his name's on the building. And I guess his name being on the building is probably the reason why he's like this. But, he was just kind of a buffoon. It was just really kind of off-putting in a lot of ways at times. But, on the flip side of that, I've met some of the greatest people, leaders, strong characters, honorable people who really care about doing right and doing good. And but I've seen everything in between. And we're on such a trajectory right now that, yes, we need to cut some of this fraud. Yes, we need to find this waste. Yes, we need to kind of heal from this, because if you've been in the category of human that has been discriminated against, slandered, had lawfare committed against you, just really like me, where I've just had people want to see me destroyed. For what? Because I was successful at one time, because it's easy for white people to get jobs or something. I mean, I have no idea. Much of this rhetoric that's being spewed from media, and I watch all media. I got together with someone the other day. We were going to try to have a discussion about what's going on. He's more of he voted for Kamala. I didn't vote this year again. I was too busy and I had moved around. It's a long story. But he kind of just took the same path that everybody else always takes. With me is like, you have to stop watching Fox News. Well, yeah, now my response is, well, I don't watch Fox News. I mean, I watch a little bit of Fox News, but I watch Fox News, and, I watch Paul Bet-David, and I watch, Joe. I mean, I watch everybody. I intake kind of everything, like all of you do now, like all of we do now. This is where media is going. This is where it's going to make a transition. And some might think it's going to look like this soon. I mean, AI is going to change it completely. It's everything is under transition right now. My biggest fear right now is, how far do we go? How far do we go to find fraud or find people that have taken or grown their nest egg really, really big on the backs of other people, on the backs of the American citizens, on the taxpayers? How many billions or trillions have been wasted? I mean, it's no wonder the economy. I mean, my biggest thing is like, holy shite. How many years in a row can we just see a steady upward moving market? I mean, I got into the investment business in 99, got my license like just before 2000, and I dropped into my seat with my suit and my tie. I'd done my stint in New York. Glad it was only 2 weeks. Can't stand that city for longer than about a week. And then the bubble burst, and it went from like, oh my God, look there's millions of people day trading, doing it themselves, saying investing's easy. They were talking about brick and mortar businesses being done, that stockbrokers are out of business because people can just do it themselves. And then, pow, it blew up. Everything kind of reset itself. We had a massive correction. It took a while. It took a significant amount of time to get to a new low. We haven't seen anything like that since the financial collapse, since we started printing trillions of dollars of stimulus. Interest rates went from where they were at in 99, which I don't remember that number off the top of my head, but they slowly went down to next to nothing. And we had this massive real estate expansion. I mean, how many real estate agents are there now? I mean, everybody I know, everybody's wife is a realtor. Like, everybody. Is that healthy? Is that right? Oh, I know what the question I was asking was. Did anybody know anyone over the last 10 years to just buy a bunch of property? Just like picked up a couple homes and just happened to like be running into money somehow, some way, that they were buying real estate. Do you know where that money came from? I don't ever really ask anybody where their money comes from. If, I meet somebody and they're buying properties, usually there's a business or something tied to it. And, but how many people have just funneled state, like free money Whether you're not working at a job or your job's to like check your email once a week and run your podcast or whatever it may be. How many people are out there like that? I mean, I was saying 2 years or so ago that everybody sounds like they're about to lose a gravy train. I mean, my buddy's wife here, the night of the election, I got a call from my friend and he said, oh my gosh, my wife is losing her mind. She's crying. And she literally told him, I feel like somebody's going to come and arrest me. Why would she feel that way? Now, she's going to say, I guess, well, it's Trump. He's a Nazi. And, all of the rhetoric now just makes sense. If this much money was being funneled out and stolen and embezzled out of our coffers, and not even like just tax dollars, but we're talking like deficit dollars, like budget deficit dollars, stolen, borrowed money. So it's not only stealing like the tax dollars, but it's stealing the borrowed future tax dollars. And the sheer number could be astronomical. And what do we do? What do we do about that? You remember back in the 90s, when Napster came out and everybody was like downloading music and Hollywood was freaking out and the music companies were freaking out. Nobody really gave a shit because, the music industry's been ripping off the artists for years. It's a known fact that they just, you're an amazing musician. Let me sign you. We will make your life great. And then they just steal all their money. Except the ones like Prince who stand up and say no, and then he weirdly dies. There's a lot of nefarious stuff that's gone on. And it's gone on too long. And I think we're going to finally just have to get to the bottom of that. It has to be a ringing of the whole thing, and then you build it back, or you establish, a baseline, and then you bring it back, and you operate efficiently, and you grow. It's time for us to grow. It's time for us to make different decisions. Give people something to look forward to. Not just another year of, the grind at your factory job. I mean, there's a lot of factory jobs and a lot of desk jobs and a lot of admin jobs and millions of jobs that will not be around in probably 2 to 5 years. That's how fast this AI revolution is going to go. It's how fast, unless somebody flips out and just goes and bombs Taiwan and destroys all the chip. I mean, if we lose the chip manufacturing, we lose AI. So those chips, it's not just NVIDIA, but these chips, these processing, quantum computing, these revolutionary technology transformations are going to transform us as humans. How we it's already happening. We're seeing it, virtual reality. Everybody lives right here in this little box. Like, how many people you think have 3 computer monitors, a camera, and just are set up like this? I mean, there's thousands, maybe millions. I mean, I'm into it. I'm at the age now where this is what my experience has. The experiences I've had, the jobs I've had, the people I've met, the things I've done, I now finally possess the experience and the knowledge after knowing. And really, I'll tell you what, it happened, like the confidence or the understanding to even do something like this, it finally came to me that like, wow, there's a lot of millions of people that you think are just really super smart. Oh, they got it. No. No. It is truly staggering to me how many people just fake it. No idea who they are, what they stand for, whether they're good or evil, or they're just fumbling through their narcissistic existence, hopefully getting away with it. And if they don't get away with it, if somebody does expose that they're a fraud or not who they say they are, all hell breaks loose. And that's what we're seeing now. That is what we're seeing right now. And the methods that have been used. This is the part, this is the part that I am most disappointed about. The methods that have been used to do this are just downright evil. Evil. There's really no other way to put it. I'm not a real religious person. I don't believe, I've had many family members, and this is how see if I can take this little jolt off here and remember where I was at, but I can't tell you how many family members I've had. Have you ever wanted just to talk about a problem with somebody and have somebody kind of critically think through it with you and just validate or tell you you're wrong, whatever? But I've had so many family members just say, you just need to talk to Jesus. Why don't you go to church with me next Sunday? And I'm sorry, but that drives me freaking nuts. Because my problem will still be there, and I will want to still talk about it, and that's why I talked with you. Great, if you want to go to church and get your points for bringing new members to church who can donate, I had a bad experience, okay? I don't not believe in, I am a Christian. I believe, in the stories, and I went to a lot of church, but I think we've got some bigger fish to fry where we're at right now. This isn't something that we can just put our faith in God. We have to use our critical minds, and we have to think collectively, as a group, as a community. Because if we are not a community anymore, then we are factions that haven't broken up yet. We are groups of people that will congregate with like-minded groups of people eventually and just turn into factions. And that's no fun. But at least we now know why there's no good music, why there's no good movies, why kind of popular culture has kind of gotten the whack, just the shit end of the stick. God, I hope I'm not blowing everybody's eardrums out. Everything seems really super loud right now. May have been blowing your eardrums out. Sorry about that. If I was for, a good 40 minutes here. Apologize. I don't know if there's anybody in the stream or in the chat anyways. Oh, there is somebody in the chat. There is somebody there. Hey, great. Thank you. My first communication with a chat member. I don't know. I'm going to have to block that for just a second here. Let's see if I can get it up here. Yeah, we don't want to turn into factions. That's not going to be fun. Why don't we instead start getting more kids into music and encouraging people to take risks again, and that life isn't scary, and that it's okay to teach the kid how to mow the lawn. Yeah, it's got a spinning blade and it's dangerous, but if we don't give our kids the ability to put themselves in harm's way, figure some things out on their own. I remember when my youngest was a little over 2, he so wanted to touch the fireplace, and he wanted to touch the fireplace because he was told he couldn't touch the fireplace. And I knew that he wanted to touch the fireplace because we told him that, because I remember being 2 and being told not to do something that was going to hurt me. And I wanted to do it because somebody told me not to do it. So, unbeknownst to my wife at the time, I just told him, okay, go ahead, touch it. Go ahead, do it. And I was sitting right next to him, and I just let him go and just touch the fireplace. Now, I grabbed his hand quick, and he got burned. There was a little burn. It didn't blister or anything. But I let him make a mistake. I let him learn. That is part of becoming not a victim of natural selection. I'm kind of a believer in natural selection, which I think, I'm not a science guy, but I do some science sometimes. But natural selection is kind of the idea that the survival will happen because you're a little smarter or quicker at figuring something out. I do not believe that we should be not helping those who are less fortunate or less intelligent or slow or whatever. I don't believe that, we shouldn't be helping those people. But I think we should let people, if we give too much away. Does anybody know any trust fund kids who were overachievers? I actually know one, now that I think about it, but his parents were smart. His parents told him that his trust fund is available to him when he turns 65 years old. So he won't have to worry, but unless you want to live like a homeless person, you better go figure something out. That's smart. That is what good parents do. But how many kids do you know who got that trust fund money early, who are business leaders, super intelligent, Nobel Prize winners? You don't. Because, maybe there is. I'm not going to generalize. I'm not going to fall into the trap of he's a white Nazi generalizing. Oh, he's a racist. I don't fall for that anymore. The words have been devalued too much. We have accused and we have overused the accusations that eliminate voices. And now we see why it's been done. It's been done as part of an operation to continue stealing and pillaging and taking from others and calling it retribution. We've heard that a lot. Retribution. Pay us for us being descendants of slaves. It's only right. Give every just stop. Just stop with that. That is the kind of talk that comes from people who are already on the take. They're not only already on the take, but they want more. Have you ever known a drug dealer or a person who makes good money who ends up being content with how much money they have? No. You end up spending exactly what you make. You make 50 grand, you're going to spend all of it and then some. You make 100 grand, you're going to spend 100 grand and then some. You make 200 grand, you're going to spend 200 grand and then some. Trust me, I've done it. I've gone from 80,000 to 120 to 180 to 250 to 1 year 320 and then 250 and then kind of hovered there for a little bit and then on the way down. Oh, what's that? I got noises. Well, sorry about the hairdryer next door. I didn't know that was going to happen. So we have to do something about this. There's no other way. Now, we can block it in the courts, which there are plenty of people trying to do. They're trying to block. Why? Do they think they're going to be able to hide it forever? I don't think so. I don't slow it down. A lot of really bad info is going to come out soon. The Epstein list, maybe the Diddy list. What should happen to those people? I think I put as the title to tonight's weekend chat is do we prosecute everybody? Do we prosecute everyone? How far do we go? I don't know. It's if we go the distance, everybody who did, obviously if you're, I'm going to take a 5-minute break here. Hold on. I got to find out who's running a hairdryer next door. Okay, we're back. There was a vacuum running next door that I didn't check the schedule tonight. There's a little cleaning going on, but yeah, we have to get this done. Now, the consequences of getting this done to its fullest extent, if we want to prosecute everybody, if we want to say every single person who got a corrupt contract, got free money, has been taking Social Security from dead people who are 300 years old or 150 years old, everybody who is a part of the Epstein, if we want to go after everyone, that could cause a pretty significant correction, which could turn into a incredibly significant recession, which could turn into a really significant decline in real estate values, portfolio values, commercial, the whole 9 yards. I mean, it's hard to talk about this without really knowing who and how much we are talking about here. I mean, the one thing that I always refer back to, and, let's just look at it right now real quick. I think I can do this. Looking too far away here. Let's take that off. Let's remove that. Let's remove that. Now, this is just going to be, this isn't even the S&P 500. This is the SPY ETF. The SPY ETF basically mirrors the S&P 500. And if I can get this on, see if I can do this. Trading view. Let's go there. And let's go. Oh, whoops. No. Let's go there. What the heck? No. Why is that not working? Oh, that's why it's not working. Okay. So, if we look at the SPY ETF. Now, this right here, this is COVID. Let's go back a little further to put some perspective here. Oh, geez, I got all sorts of lines in here, don't I? Let's see if I can get that out of there. Remove. Oh, I'm going to have to do this one by one. All right, well, we're just going to look at it. We're just going to ignore those. So, I'm going to go to a different chart. Let's go to the weekly. There we go. We're still going to have the clutter, but just follow me here for a second. Humor me. This this is my career here. So 93, 94, 95, 96. I mean, look at that chart. Okay. I mean, look at the volumes here. I mean, it's sort of crazy. It really, really is sort of crazy. Now, this might be the reason that I'm being silenced and suppressed on YouTube, because I'm pointing to things that maybe people still in the industry just don't want to do. They're not taking that risk. I don't know. I haven't had any knocks on my door, but I've had a lot of weird things happen, like just hacks and constant people trying to hack me. A bank account that I had with an online bank just ended my relationship. Just poof, just like that. Relationship over. No reason. Kind of accused me of a check fraudster in the process. So I have no idea. Full transparency. But I watch this really closely. Now, this right here is the .com bubble. Okay, we had all this growth. I got into the industry about right here. It peaked. And then pow. You know, it was a down market it wasn't just throw your money in NVIDIA and throw your money in Apple. And I mean, you needed to understand what stock picking was about. We got very popular back then, again, because nobody really knew how to make money when the market's just kind of constantly floundering and moving south. And then in 03, you know, things leveled out. We started back on a growth phase. And then you get in here to 05, 06, 07, real estate market, housing crisis. People borrowed to the gill, just no income verification loans, toxic instruments, collateralized debt obligations. If you've seen The Big Short or any of that, that's where all this unwound. And we had a significant, I mean, look at that unwind. I mean, that was a roughly a 55% downswing from the top. Okay, so we pull our shit together. Now we're 2009, 10, 11, 12, and it's just been pow, COVID, but then pow. How does that happen? Well, look at the volume candles. I mean, first of all, look at the volume candles up here and how the volume candles compare to the volumes in, you know, call it the 90s. There's the 90s volume candles. And then the year 2000, and then this big decline, and then boom, stimulus. Here comes the stimulus. Here comes all the stimulus packages. And this was 2, 3, 4. You know, this was the fight on, you know, the war on terror. No. From here, this point to here, this was all the beginning stages of the fight on, you know, the fight to overcome terrorism, start wars, 9/11, all that stuff. You know, 9/11 happened here. So then the volume picked up. Well, the volume picked up because the Fed, people who run the monetary policy, started printing more money. Started printing more money and putting it back into the economy. You know, easing loans, making it really cheap to get money. So people will borrow and buy houses and, you know, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mae, you know, all that system, that massive system that we have so many millions of financial advisors and people getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars to advise you, to manage this money, to make money off this money. It's our money. It's all the taxpayers' money, theoretically, right? It wouldn't be going somewhere else, because money going somewhere else, if we just like I know we didn't do this. Like, okay, here's the real estate crisis collapse. Okay, we fixed all that, right? You know, the Dodd Act, you know, all that congressional hoopla that took place. Well, now we started chugging away again. All this volume kind of slows down a little bit, but then it just steadily keeps increasing. How much stimulus is now there's stimulus. Remember what I said earlier in the show? There's stimulus, and then there's
stimulus that we know of, and then there's stimulus that we don't know of, which is, I guess, all this corrupt money. I mean, they haven't audited Fort Knox yet. That one, I'm dying to see the results on that one. Fort Knox, audit, show up, live stream, the whole 9 yards. I hope they do it. I hope they do it. I don't think the gold's there. I don't think there's any way it's there. I think it's gone. Gone, daddy, gone. And then what do we do? What do we do if that happens? If the gold in Fort Knox is gone? Does anybody ever have to pay a price, receive a consequence? There were a lot of pardons given at the end of Biden's term. A lot. And let's just not even talk about it anymore. Okay, just turn off the January 6th thing. Yes, there are some people from the January 6th group that there's probably a couple that shouldn't have been pardoned because they maybe were more violent. But let's just stop talking about it. Biden got his, Trump got his. That's a wash. It's over. Let's not even go there again. That's like the single biggest reason that I still get from people who are even attempting to tiptoe back into having a conversation about a solution. And every single one of them goes to, well, I chose to not support Trump because of the January 6th, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's just rhetoric. That's just your mom talking to you when you were a kid and having to listen to what she says without questioning it, because that's what that is. That's all it is. It's just a cover-up. Yes, there were some bad people there, but there were also all sorts of people in Seattle and Portland and Chicago. I mean, all over the country protesting and killing cops and doing things that, I'm sorry, just are just as nefarious and just as evil. So let's not get hung up in the details. Okay? I'm not going to talk about it again. But if we don't know what that money is, if we don't, let's see if I can figure this out. Oh yeah, that's right. If we don't know what that money is or how much it is, can we truly, even as an investment advisor, okay, I'm an investment advisor. I'm a fee-based advisor. I'm not a stockbroker. I don't get paid commissions. It doesn't work like that. I advise people on where to invest, how, strategies. I run a fund, will be running a fund. But if I can't advise people with the knowledge that I have access to properly, what good is any financial advisor? They're supposed to be watching and determining and making decisions that protect your money. Well, if your financial advisor has a Series 7 license, if they don't have the particular license and fall under the category of advisor, there's a chance that they don't even have to invest your money in your best interest. I know that's really, most of that's gone now. It's called fiduciary responsibility and not having to have a fiduciary responsibility. Fiduciary responsibility is like if you're an executor of an estate, if you have decision-making power over another person's assets, you know, especially if you have custody. Custody of assets means, you know, you can log into a screen and transfer money in and out of the account. That is custody. Fiduciary responsibility means you are required by law, with the powers given to you as a fiduciary, that you must make decisions for where that money goes in that person's best interest. So like if you're an executor of an estate, some people confuse being an executor as being the king of the estate or the queen of the estate, that they get to make all the decisions. That's what some people can mistake being an executor for. And I guess I'm just trying to get at here. We don't have all the info. We need to get back to that place where we have all the info. And I'm sorry, but it seems to me, I can't really see my screen without these on. It really seems to me that there's a whole group of people that have just hijacked and taken something that wasn't theirs, and they don't want to give it back, or they don't want to lose the additional funding. Are there going to be some things? Are there going to be some things that have to go through a period of pain that get like money that really goes to some good causes? Yes, there is. It's inevitable. It's the United States federal government. It's massive. There will be some things that are missed, that are overlooked. But that's just a part of life. We got ourselves into this mess. Well, I won't say we. A lot of people got us into this mess. Now we have to get out of it. And it's not going to be like pain-free. It's not going to be an entitlement circus where how much more are we going to get for nothing? Eventually, if anybody went and watches, if anybody goes and watches that Ray Dalio spot with Tucker, he says it. It's productivity equals income. If your productivity is nil and you can't consider productivity getting up and running your social media page or smoking a joint at noon, that's not productivity. That's productivity, I guess, in some people's lives, which that's another thing. We're going to cover the cannabis legalization here in a few days. As this takes more shape, and I'll be able to bring you, on this journey that I went or that I was on and what I saw happen, because the recreational cannabis industry, I was told by a federal judge that I played a lot of golf with, that he thinks that the legalization of cannabis was literally just going to hand all the money and the business over to the cartels. And I remember the day I played with him and asked him that question, like, what, really? Really, Judge? You think that's what it is? And they're letting all these just everyday Americans just get into the industry, and, people were putting like home equity loans on their houses, and they were mortgaging the bank that they were going to make money in this business. I mean, we got into it, and our investor put $1.2 million into the business, and it was kind of fraudulent. It was kind of fraudulent. All the advisors, all the consulting groups that came in and supposedly like helped the state determine what the traceability system will be and how it works and how it's going to work. It was a complete and utter shit show. I don't think a consultant ever stepped in a room, wrote a report, did anything. It was all just free money. Here you go. Just throwing stacks everywhere. And that was extremely disappointing. I put a lot of work into structuring and building and putting that business together with an understanding, looking at it from a distribution standpoint. Just like I was in the mutual fund industry and the managed investment industry, same industry, distribution. It's all distribution of products. It's all people working with people, getting a product to market and marketing that product. And it just didn't work that way. It didn't work at all that way. And there was lawfare, and there was bullshit, and there was, lawsuits filed by the attorney general for price fixing against multiple multiple producers, including us, that were it was just crap. All it was a posturing to make sure that the retailers could fix the prices on us, on the producer. They had total power, total, utter control. So that industry, a joke. In fact, we may have been taken out. We may have been eliminated or blacklisted in that industry because I was just a regular white guy, worked on Wall Street, normal, like every average day, average everyday person. And people thought, no. I represented the evil. I represented the Trump supporters. I represented the conservative groups. Well, no, fuck you. Don't label me. Don't label me. I won't label you. What song is that from? Label me, I'll label you. Sounds like Eddie Vedder. So that whole thing was just garbage. And is that every other state that's launched it? I've kind of kept tabs on a little bit of it, in some of the other states. Some other states are launching it a little bit different. Some are, it's just, everybody has their little twist on it. But I still think it's just a way at some point, and I think it happened. I really do. I think it happened here. I think this is where our elected officials figured out that nobody's paying attention. That if we kept these printing presses rolling at Treasury and kept doing this, and we got a couple of people in high places to just, all you got to do is get into somebody's pocket. That's how corruption works. You just slide them some cash. As long as that cash keeps coming, usually whoever's facilitating that cash pipeline is going to keep doing what they're doing. What's their incentive to not? Money incentivizes everybody, right? Money gives you more things. Money gets you a better looking woman. Money gets you fancier cars. Like, I've never really been into money. I've been more into experiences and relationships and getting to know people. But money's fun. Money does amazing things. Money does good things for good people. It makes a good person better, and it makes bad people worse. Heard that line from an old friend years ago, and it rings true today. Makes good people better and bad people worse. And I think we're going to see just how bad people are in these next few weeks and months and stuff ahead. I mean, what a perfect time to launch a show like this. I'm going to have an endless supply of things to talk about. But I need help. I need help getting into the conversation, everybody. You got to help me, maybe I am just being absolutely shunned by the government, or I was put on some list that, I don't know. Should I feel privileged? YouTube doesn't even let my stream into the available live stream list. Won't even let it. I go live on YouTube. I'll go live on YouTube at 10 o'clock at night sometimes when there's very few streams. There's like 12 streams everywhere in the world. I go live. I'll just let it sit there. Can't find it. Can't find my stream. Now, what do I know that they don't want me talking about? I guess I'll find out. But I'll tell you what, one of the other reasons that I wanted to start streaming on a regular basis was to just have my own narrative. In case something does happen to me, if you don't see me at least once a day, check in, get a hold of somebody. Because it's not fun. It's absolutely not fun. And we got to be nicer to each other. I mean, it's let's just take everything with a grain of salt. Unless you are specifically, I'm just going to look at it this way. Anybody that I run into in town, or anybody that I have a conversation with that is still just like hardcore anti-Trump and Elon and what's going on, at this point, I'm just going to assume that you are part of the faction of people who are on the take. Because at this point, anybody who looks at finding corruption and rooting it out, who's against that, there's something weird going on. I'm sorry. So I'm just going to assume that you are part of that. If otherwise, every single one of us should be able to come together and go, okay, let's think about this logically. What's going on? Do we need to run for an office? Should we put together a coalition? What do we do? Like, let's work on solving the problems. Trump's a prick. Biden's a prick. They're all pricks. And they're all taking our money. We need to be able to make sure it goes to us. Everybody, including white people. Because the longer this goes on, the closer it's going to get to violence. People are already hitting their breaking point. I mean, you see, how many videos do you see out there on a daily basis of fights and kids knocking each other out and, road rages and car chases. And I mean, it's chaos. It's such chaos. It's been chaos for so long that I think a lot of the kids are just numb to it now. Literally just numb to the chaos. And I don't want the chaos anymore. We've got to stop the lawfare. Speaking of lawfare, if anybody's following this Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively case, I am so happy. I hope that this is the last freaking one. Enough with the takedowns. This poor guy. He options the book. He gets the script. He puts it together. He's chasing his dream, making a movie. He wants to get an opposite lead, a female lead that'll bring people to the movie, hires this girl, and she hijacks his freaking movie. And then ices it by, let's just accuse him of sexual harassment and whatever else and ruin his career too. Because if we don't, it might ruin mine. Well, it did ruin yours, Blake. And I think it's going to ruin Ryan Reynolds' career too. And I'm sorry, but it should. Because you people are scum. You are scum. And you can tell you're scum because your teacher got a hold of Candace Owens. Ryan, what? Come on, man. You had everything. You guys took a sexual harassment, scared of you, uncomfortable movie about sexual assault and used it as a marketing campaign for your booze? And you mocked it in your movie? Like, come on, dude. This is the kind of stuff. It's this elitist, like we own the courts, we own the power, we own everything. We're going to do what we want when we want to do it. No, you're not going to do what you want when you want to do it. There are consequences in life. And it all comes out in the wash. It all comes out in the wash. So just be nicer to people. I go out every day when I go out in public, every day. I literally try to interact with somebody or compliment them or just like put a smile on their face, just make their day. You know how easy it is to just make somebody's day by, saying their dog is super cute, just anything. People are walking around all over the place with blinders on. Don't even want to look at anybody. Side eyes even. I mean, just tone it down. There's going to be some change. Nobody likes change. I didn't like the change I had handed down when DEI took my job. Nobody does. It's no fun. It's no good. So we're going to cut this one a little short tonight. I got to get up at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning and jump on watching the markets close. Because it's just going to take one little deal, one little catalyst, one, crazy Ukrainian bigger bomb than, we thought, or like, who knows? Who knows what it's going to take? And if we lay off too many people, if we cut this thing too deep, if we go too hard and too fast, which is only going to happen if there's fights put up, if all there is corrupt judges throwing blockades in and doing things that are just against the law with the intention of trying to reverse it and reverse manipulate it, gaslight it, triangulate it, all of those tactics that we've taught our kids that we now need to reprogram and put some effort into. Should all the Christian kids be the only ones who understand morality and ethics and being a little bit honorable? Are they the only ones who should have access to that knowledge? No. Let's just build that into some more of our daily stuff. That's what I say. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Who am I? Well, let's just say I'm your typical American kid. Typical means growing up insecure, stuttering through sentences, dodging a critical mom, and watching dad hide in the shadows. High school kicked me out 2 weeks early for leaving campus with my girlfriend. One of these girls is her. And the closest I got to college was throwing a touchdown pass to my buddy in the 5th grade. I was lucky to spend a lot of time with my grandparents. They were great. Learned to use my words to navigate life, just like Grandpa said. Make friends, make money. I experimented, took things apart. Guess I learned the old-fashioned way by just making mistakes. Hey! I've sold wine to grocery stores, driven heavy equipment, caddied on the PGA Tour, was in a band, even went to LA in my early 20s to give acting a shot. Pretty sure I can fly anything with wings. Worked in sales most of my life, got recruited to Wall Street, and one day I even rang the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. It's been a crazy ride. Married for 18 years, married for 18 months, divorced twice, and both of the women are in this picture. And I'll guarantee you, divorce during the Trump years was not fun. Lawfare sucks. But thank goodness I had a woman come to my rescue. And she's in this picture. Maybe it's just me, but I truly believe that humans can accomplish anything if they